Ooh. G'day, Stu from UAV Futures here, and today, well, we really do have something special. I mean, I see a lot of drones. You guys know I'm an absolute drone nut, but what we have here, this is the Mocha frame from Mocha Quads. I'll link it down below. Hopefully I'm saying it right anyway. Mocha, whatever it is, I'm gonna link it down below, but the name is not important when you look at just how crazy, you know, the exciting part is just how crazy this drone actually looks like. So it's a vertical arm frame. It can rock like a V-tail on the back, so it should have some crazy yaw authority, and I've got to admit, I really am a bit in love with the looks of this drone. So I am very, very impressed with the way it looks. I actually don't know how it's going to fly. So what we're going to be doing, this is the bench breakdown where we stick it on the bench, look at the text and the specs, and then in part two, that's where we take it out. A little card should flash up here if you want to go watch that right now. But that's when we take it out, rip it around, and find out just what this thing can do when we hit it with the speed gun, all that sort of goodness. But for the bench breakdown, I'm excited because I have never seen a frame like this. I think they're doing some really, really cool stuff. And the crazy part, it's from a really small company as well. Like, it's not some big mass production or anything. It's just one guy designing some frames, and I've got to admit, I really like the sort of thinking that's gone behind this. It's very, very cool and very, very exciting. So that's enough rambling in this little part. What we should do, let's get into it. Let's stick it on the bench and check out, I mean, look at the photo. We're gonna stick it on the bench and find out why I'm so excited about the Mocha frame. All right, let's do it. Now, as you guys know, I am terrible at pronouncing frames, names. I can't even say that probably, but look, it's the Jardina, however you say this. I'll flash a picture of what it's actually called and the way it's spelled anyway on the screen. Jardina. I'm not sure. I'm just going to call it the Mocha frame, but yeah, you guys, I'm sure you'll still understand what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so here it is on the bench, and honestly, look, I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen, probably multiple, because is this not one of the sexiest looking drones you have ever seen? I know that sounds so weird, but I love the look of it, from the color theme to the vertical arms to just like how crazy, far out different that it looks, and it's got some crazy features going on here that I can't wait to show you. So it's a bit of an overview. What it is, it's a 5-inch racer. It just comes in the frame. It's been through a lot of development, like I'll flash a picture on the screen, and it's cool to see a designer that keeps taking an idea and working on it and working on it. But what this is, for the 5-inch racing frame, some special things. It's got like the V-tail on the back, so you should have some good yaw authority in the air, and I do think it's going to handle a little bit different. Now, vertical arms, you know, some people like them, some people don't like them. I loved them on my Talon review, and if you want to watch that, I'll leave a little card that should flash up there, and I do think there's something to it when it's cutting through the air, and I am super pumped to see how is it going to go. And you've even got the props angled on a very sort of different level than what we're used to. Now, the first things first, what we should do, let's stick it on the scales, and look, I'm going to link this down below, and I don't know if they offer this bind and fly version, if it's like this, because I know they're just a small company. I think it's one guy in his garage designing some top-notch stuff, but if there is a bind and fly, maybe email them, ask them, hit them up if it's not in the links down below. But take your bets, let's stick it on the scales. I'm going to guess maybe 340 grams. Oh, I'm not even joking. That's fantastic. So 346 grams. Mate, this must be my job or something. Getting pretty good at it. But 346 grams. So look, it's not the lightest. It's definitely not going to be as light as some of those other ones out there. It's got some very chunky arms, but I also don't think it's going to be the heaviest as well. And hopefully those vertical arms are going to help reduce some of the drag as it's cutting through the air. Now, what we're going to be doing in this bench breakdown, let's jump right in, have a look at the components, and we'll talk about the quality, the design, and the pros and cons. So what I am going to do, I'm going to take these props off on the outside because it didn't actually come with props, and I've just lost that lock nut. Good one, Stuart. So we'll take these props off. It makes the review a lot easier, and then we can get on with the rest of the review. Alright, so I've zoomed in, the props are off, now we can have a bit of a better look at the components, and the first component, or the main thing I want to talk about, is the actual frame itself. So you can see it's made up of 4 individual arms. They're connected to, I guess, the chassis, or this body in the middle, which is aluminium. It is very, very thick in there. These arms on the outside, they're 5mm as well, so I don't think they're going to be breaking anytime soon. Maybe if you collided with something, look, carbon isn't the strongest when it's going to be flexing that way, but I do have to say there isn't too much flex flex, and there is definitely no flex when you're going, I guess, in that plane. What do you call that? The horizontal plane. Now, if you're the sort of pilot who does some insane freestyle, well, if you look here, you can get some crazy angles thanks to this big cutout at the front. And overall, I think the frame, I really like how it's gone together, and I think it's a smart move, and a lot of designers are doing that nowadays, where they mix aluminium with carbon. No longer is it just 2 standoffs and 2 bits of carbon. Anyway, what we should do, let's talk about the motors that I've got in mind, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the design. But what we've got some of the Emax light specs on the outside, 2206, well, the LS 2206, that's what stands for light spec, and 2205 kV motors. So this thing should absolutely scream, and to be honest, I am very excited about the part 2 video where we take it out. In the front, we've just got our standard size FPV camera. You can see there is a huge capacitor right here, which is very nice, so we should have some clean video. There's no ESCs on the arm or anything, and that's sort of going with the design to keep the drag down and also make sure we're getting maximum thrust from our motors. And then underneath, in the middle, I guess we've got our 4-in-1 ESC. On top of that, we've got our Omnibus F4 flight controller and just a little VTX running out the back. So the stuff in here, you know, it's pretty standard or synonymous. We've got some really good components that you'd expect in sort of a top-notch racer. I don't even know if I should call this a racer or a freestyler, because that's what I want to talk about a little bit in the design. So when it comes to the design with the vertical arms, the way it's slammed, it should have a fantastic center of gravity. I think we're going to be putting a GoPro on the top right there, but probably my, you know, the favorite part besides how it looks in the vertical arms, check these motors out. So on the outside, I'm going to see if I can flash a picture on the screen, because this is a little bit out of focus. Hang on. You can see along here, there's 2 different arms, and the way they connect is actually really, really unique. So they screw into the outside of the carbon with this little bit of aluminum here, and then that screws up into this little base plate, and you can actually have that on a different angles. So your motors, you know, you can actually have them angled up a little bit more. So your quad is not just flat. You know, when your quad's flat, your motors are flat. With this one, you can do that if you like, but you've also got the option, you can tilt it. So I guess that when your quadcopter is that level, look at the motors. That is absolutely crazy, almost like it's a little bit tilted. So we've got tilted and vertical arms. On top of that, they're also facing a different direction. So these 2 are slightly facing in, and you're going to see this best with the props on. So let me put these 2 props on. You can see, if I can get this on, they're sort of coming in towards the center a little bit. If I've sort of, you can see the angle a little bit better there. And the opposite is true on the outside. They're sort of facing away from each other. So if we look at the front ones, you can see they are facing away from each other. So you are going to be getting some crazy, I think, stability. I'm not too sure how that's going to affect it in top speed, but the yaw authority on this thing should be, I guess, top-notch level. I'm very, very excited for it. Now, staying on the design, other parts I like too. I just think they've done some smart things with the carbon, with the aluminium. Besides the actual core, I guess, the aerodynamics and the shape of the frame, it's very well designed with the aluminum bit in the middle, the way it houses the camera, all that sort of jazz I really like. I'm not too sure about this little part. I might prefer, I guess, because your props are up so high, I would probably prefer to run my antenna straight out the back and zip tie it down, and that's perhaps what this little longer bit is for. But one little option I would say to the guys over at Mocha Frame, something I probably would change, is offer this bit in a little bit shorter. So if you want to run your antenna out the top like this, you can get rid of all this bit of carbon on the back, because you don't actually need that. And if you want to have one of those longer antennas that's running out the back like that, well then ship that separately. So sort of give us those options to buy each individual piece. Now moving on, let's talk about the quality. So I'm going to give the quality of this thing a 9 out of 10. The carbon looks fantastic. It feels really, really stiff. The solder joints in there are good, but I guess I don't want to judge that too much because I'm not sure if they offer the bind and flies. I want to talk about the frame a little bit more. And it blows me away just what people can do. Sort of these small designers and the sort of quality of the frames they can make is next level. So I'm a big fan of that. And a lot of people are going to be saying, well, it's $100. So sort of what are you expecting? And yep, I totally agree. The price is definitely up there. And I can understand for some of those smaller companies, look, things can't be made with the economies of scale and all that sort of thing. Things can't be as cheap as some of the other ones out there. But I think it's not too far outpriced versus some of the other frames that are on the market anyway. I know it's sort of right up there with that sort of upper level, and if it performs well, I know a lot of people are going to like it, but when you look at the stuff you've got in here, it's not rubbish that you've got in here either. It is good quality. Alrighty, so with all that out of the way, let's talk about the pros and the cons. Well, I'm just going to put this one in there. I don't know which camp this could be in. I have no idea how this thing is going to fly. I hope it flies well. It should be super stable, and the PID tuning might take a little bit, but to be honest, I'm not too sure because I've never seen one with tilted motors, vertical arms, and with a V-tail or those sorts of things. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this actually goes in the air. So if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. I guess that's hard to call it in a pro and a con. Another con, you might think the price versus what else you can get, because it definitely is up there for a premium frame. Talking about the pros though, I love the look of it. I love the innovation and the thought and just trying something new. I think that's fantastic. But for me, a big part of this one, it's almost like a show pony or something, you know, you just get one of these for looks because it has to be one of the best looking quads I have ever seen. I love it. And I've got to give a shout out too to my Patreon supporters over on when they were talking to me on Discord, because one of them was like, hey Stu, check this frame out, and that's how I got in touch with this. So thank you so much those guys over on Discord and Patreon, because look, without that I wouldn't be talking about this cool frame. You guys wouldn't be learning about it, and I really like looking at this new and just exciting developments in our hobby. Now, one thing I'm sort of curious about is because the carbon's really thick and it does seem really rigid, and I think you've got great camera protection on the front as well. You're not going to be breaking a camera anytime soon, but if you did smash in high speed, how's it going to hold up in with the crashes? You know, if you hit concrete or something really hard, is that just going to shear some of this carbon off? So that might be one little concern that I've got as well. So I guess durability in the long run versus some hard things like car park pillars and that sort of stuff. Trees and grass, I'm not too concerned about, but if you're doing some bando flying, well, you know, you might want to treat this thing with a little bit more respect. That goes with all vertical frames actually, not just this one. But overall, look, I'm super excited. Well done, Mocha Quads, Mocha Quads. I've got to figure out how to say that, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but overall, the quad itself, I really love what you've done or what you're trying to do. I love that innovation, and really, it's making me very, very excited to get this thing out and rip it around and show you guys in the part 2. Alrighty, so there it is. I already can't wait to show you guys part 2. We take it out, rip it around, so go and watch that. It should be linked down below, but overall, regardless of how it flies, because look, we're not too sure just at that moment. I think it's going to perform well. It's got some top-notch components in here, but it is so different and so, I guess, just left field that I'm really not too sure what to expect. How are the different props, the way they're angled, how is that going to handle with the yaw authority and the pitch and the roll, all that sort of stuff. What's it going to be like for a racer or a freestyler? I'm not too sure. But regardless, hats off to the Mocha frame, guys, because look, it's definitely something I'm very, very excited about, and if it performs well, well, this could be just another way that shapes our hobby. Anyway, what do you guys think? Put your comments down below. Is it not one of the most beautiful frames that you've ever seen? Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying! I think it sort of looks like a person too. Like if any quad was gonna look like, this was what I would have liked as a kid. So most kids got their action figures or something. This is what I would have probably sat around and played with. Hey, no. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAV Futures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.